We gather today to contemplate a profound and unsettling paradox of the human condition. The individual who, having traversed 6 or 7 decades of life, who stands at the threshold of legacy and eternity, nevertheless engages in acts of malice, corruption, and predation. They operate under the cloak of perceived anonymity, whispering, "No one sees me." They have curated within the chambers of their own mind a narrative of righteousness, convincing themselves that their harassment is justified, their illegalities are mere cleverness, their cruelty is a form of justice. This is not the fiery, ambitious evil of youth, but a colder, more entrenched variety, an evil polished smooth by years of rationalization. Consider the psychological architecture required for such a stance. By 60 or 70, a human psyche is a vast, layered city. Some districts are well-ordered and presentable, the face shown to family, to community, perhaps to faith. But other quarters, deep in the hinterlands of the mind, may be built on faulty foundations. Unresolved grievances, nurtured envies, a latent hunger for control that age, instead of diminishing, has magnified as other powers wane. When a misleading accusation, a piece of gossip, a manipulated half-truth is presented to such a person, it does not land on neutral ground. It lands on fertile soil, tilled by decades of secret biases. They do not receive it with skepticism. They embrace it as a key. It unlocks the gate to those shadowy districts, allowing them to marshal their remaining energies, their time, their resources, the authority granted by their years, not for wisdom or reconciliation, but for a campaign of persecution. They tell themselves, "I am cleaning up a mess. I am protecting something." This person deserves to feel uneasy, to be followed, to have their peace shattered. The mind, in its ingenious capacity for self-preservation, performs alchemy. It transforms base motives, spite, boredom, a twisted sense of entertainment, the thrill of clandestine power, into the gold of noble purpose. This is the central delusion. The conviction that one's own malevolence is, in fact, a secret form of benevolence. The husband and wife driving together, a united front not in charity but in conspiracy, cement their bond not through shared love but through shared transgression. They become a closed circuit of validation, each nod, each smirk reinforcing the lie that what they do is acceptable, even necessary. They become addicts, not to a substance, but to the illicit adrenaline of causing harm, all while maintaining the facade of the respectable elder. Their primary operational fallacy is spatial and temporal. Nobody is watching. They look for the human observer, the neighbor across the street, the associate in the next car, the authority figure they fear. Seeing none, they assume the room is empty. They forget that the walls themselves may have eyes. They forget the permanent, pervasive presence of a witness whose observation is not a matter of physical proximity, but of fundamental reality. The theological and philosophical concept of an omnipresent, omniscient observer, call it God, the universe, moral law, or ultimate reality, shatters the illusion of the empty room. This is not a doctrine of petty surveillance, but a principle of cosmic accountability. It means that every whispered calumny, every coordinated act of harassment from a car window, every moment spent planning not how to cherish dwindling days, but how to poison another's, all of it occurs on a stage illuminated by a light that cannot be switched off. The divine witness is not a celestial policeman waiting to pounce. It is the very ground of being in which the action is embedded. To act as if this witness is absent is not merely a religious failure. It is a metaphysical error, a flaw in one's understanding of reality itself. This observation is non-invasive until the moment of reckoning. It allows the choice to proceed. It is the ultimate respect for free will. But in that allowance lies its terrifying majesty. The couple in the car, giggling at their own cleverness as they tail their target, believe their interior dialogue is private. But what if privacy, in the ultimate sense, is an illusion we grant ourselves? What if every thought, every intention that fuels the action, is already known, already recorded in the ledger of the soul? The anxiety they seek to instill in another is, unbeknownst to them, a shadow of their own future condition. The anxiety of realizing, perhaps too late, that the room was never empty. This leads us to the profound tragedy at the heart of this behavior, the catastrophic misinvestment of time. The seventh decade and beyond is traditionally a period of summation. It is when one reaps the harvest of a lifetime's planting. What seeds are being watered here? Seeds of bitterness, of strife, of petty vengeance. Instead of gathering wisdom, they are gathering evidence against their own souls. Instead of weaving a tapestry of love, memory, and grace to leave as a mantle for the next generation, they are knitting a shroud of malice. They have the time they once longed for, retirement from formal work, children grown, and they choose to spend it as agents of chaos. The mind that could be contemplating eternity, appreciating beauty, making amends, or simply resting in gratitude, is instead hijacked by a fixation on another's suffering. This is the ultimate poverty of spirit. Physical body may be slowing, but the capacity for moral growth need not. Yet here, it is not merely stagnant. It is in active regression. They are not becoming elders, they are becoming aging bullies, armed with the weight of years and the presumption of impunity. And what of the wife participating alongside? This complicates the sin, weaving it into the very fabric of their most intimate relationship. It creates a shared secret that isolates from truth, a bond built on sand that will not withstand the ultimate tide. They are not companions on a pilgrimage toward meaning. They are co-conspirators in a plot that diminishes them both. Is there hope? The unwavering fact of the divine observer is not solely a cause for dread. It is the very foundation for hope. Because if God is watching, then God is also seeing the wounded child within the aged tormentor, seeing the original hurt that metastasized into this pathology, seeing the emptiness they are trying to fill with the drama of persecution. The light that exposes also illuminates the path back. The awakening is brutal but necessary. Begins with the shattering of the central delusion. What I am doing is good. It requires a moment of supreme, unflinching courage to review one's actions not through the lens of self-justification, but through the eyes of the victim. To imagine the fear they feel seeing that familiar car yet again. To feel the weight of the unwarranted suspicion they bear. To understand that one has willingly become a villain in another's life story. Repentance for such an entrenched pattern is not a single sigh of regret. It is a radical, active, and humiliating process. It likely requires 1. The complete and immediate cessation of all harassing behavior. The drives must stop. The whispers must cease. 2. A direct and unconditional apology to the target, without expectation of forgiveness, admitting the fabrication and the harm. 3. A rigorous moral inventory of the heart, to unearth the grievance or insecurity that was so easily weaponized. 3. A rigorous moral inventory of the heart, to unearth the grievance or insecurity that was so easily weaponized. 4. The dedication of remaining time to the opposite spirit, acts of anonymous kindness, the quiet support of life rather than its undermining. This is the hardest work of a lifetime, begun at life's later stage. It is the only work that can redeem the time. It is to finally align one's inner narrative with the ultimate reality of the observer who is also love. To step from the darkness of the self-justifying conspiracy into the liberating light of truth, however much it burns at first. So, to the man of 70, to the couple in the car, to any soul who has traded the dignity of age for the petty thrills of predation, hear this. The audience you forgot is the only one that finally matters. You are not performing for an empty house. Every act is witnessed, every intention known. The lie you tell yourself is transparent. The legacy you are building in these hours is not one of feared power, but of profound spiritual failure. But the same witness who sees the sin also waits with infinite patience for the turning. The sun of mercy can yet rise on a late hour. It requires only the courage to drop the knife, to step out of the shadow of the car, to look up from the labyrinth of your own deception, and to meet the gaze that has been upon you all along, not with a glare of condemnation, with the sorrowful, loving eyes of a father who longs for the prodigal to finally come home from a journey of hatred, and to rest in the arduous, glorious work of making peace. The choice, as it always has been, is yours, but choose knowing The room was never, ever empty. We turn our gaze now to a specific and particularly tragic manifestation of the late-life transgression we have examined. The figure of the mother, a woman who has borne the sacred title of mom, who carries in her vehicle not just the groceries or the dry cleaning, but the living, breathing future in the form of her children. Yet, she pilots this vessel of potential not toward parks or libraries, not toward beaches of laughter and memory, but on a grim, rolling patrol of harassment. She has been fed a lie, a falsehood about an innocent human being, and rather than dissecting it with the wisdom of her years, rather than dismissing it with the compassion expected of a nurturer, she has swallowed it whole. She has allowed it to poison her heart and redirect her compass. And so she drives. With her wide-eyed children strapped behind her, she transforms her minivan or sedan from a vehicle of care into a mobile instrument of persecution, a classroom of malice, all while believing in her heart that she is some kind of protector, a righteous avenger. She, too, thinks no one of consequence is watching. She forgets the eternal witness, and she blasphemes against her highest calling, Mom. It is not merely a biological designation. It is a covenant. It is a vow to protect, to nurture, to model for impressionable souls what it means to be human in a world that is often harsh. The mother is a child's first universe, their first moral compass. Her actions are not merely her own. They are lessons etched in the soft clay of her children's conscience. When she engages in the deliberate, sustained harassment of another person, she commits a double sin. The first is against the target of her campaign. The second, and perhaps more devastating, is against the children in her back seat. She has rationalized this. In the labyrinth of her mind, she has constructed a narrative where she is the lioness, and the falsely accused individual is a threat to her den. The lie she was told has become her truth. It has ignited a fire in her that should have been quenched by maturity, but instead burns with the fuel of middle-aged gossip and spite. She confuses aggression for protection, stalker-like behavior for vigilance. She tells herself, I am showing my children to stand up to bad people. But what she is actually showing them is how to become bullies. She is teaching them that vigilante justice, based on hearsay, is acceptable. She is demonstrating that the peace and innocence of a sunny afternoon, the very beach she passes by, is less important than feeding the dark drama of a grudge. She is trading sandcastles for surveillance, the sound of waves for the tense silence of a car on a malicious mission. Her primary illusion is twofold. First, she believes, as the couple did, that her actions are invisible to ultimate authority. No one sees me in this car. She forgets that the divine observer occupies not just the heavens but the very interior of her vehicle. God is in the passenger seat she thinks is empty. He hears the tightness in her voice as she points out the target's home. He sees the focus in her eyes, a focus that should be on the road to joy, diverted to the road to ruin. Every glance in the rearview mirror that meets not her children's curious eyes but scans for the object of her fixation is seen. The energy of hostility that fills the car, so thick her children can feel it though they may not name it, is known completely. But there is a second, terrifying audience she dismisses. Her own children. She thinks they are not watching or not understanding. This is a catastrophic miscalculation. Children are cosmic recording devices. They may not grasp the legal definition of harassment, but they absorb the effect. They feel their mother's tension, her anger, her secretive satisfaction. They learn that it is normal to spend family time engaged in something furtive and tense. They are being schooled in prejudice, in the suspension of empathy, in the idea that some people are simply bad and deserve to be hunted. They are learning that lies can justify cruelty. And they are learning that their mother, their supposed sanctuary, is a source of this unsettling energy. She is not building a fortress of safety around them. She is constructing a prison of paranoia, with herself as the warden. This is the profound theft at the core of her actions. The time she has been given, the finite, precious afternoons of her children's childhood, is non-renewable currency. She is spending it on hatred. While other mothers are applying sunscreen and packing towels, she is fueling resentment and planning routes. She is trading the healing salt air for the toxic atmosphere of a grudge. The beach represents everything she is abandoning. Play, openness, connection with nature, unfettered joy, the creation of memories that glow with warmth for a lifetime. What memory is she creating instead? Remember when Mom used to drive us around to follow that lady? Remember how we'd just sit in the car and she'd get really quiet and mean? This is the legacy she is actively curating. She is not just harassing an innocent person. She is robbing her own children of their rightful inheritance of peace and happy nostalgia. She is teaching them that the world is a battlefield, not a playground, and that their role is to be junior soldiers in her private, unjust war. The tragedy is infinite. The waves continue to crash on an empty shore, waiting for children who never arrive, because their mother chose a different kind of wave, a wave of malice that will, in time, crash back upon her own household. Therefore, the call to awakening here is even more urgent, for it involves the redemption of multiple souls. The divine witness sees not just a transgressor, but a corrupted nurturer. The path back begins with a horrifying, necessary vision. She must see herself through the eyes of her children in 10-20 years. Will they recount this as a time of adventure? As a confusing, dark chapter of their mother's instability? She must see herself through the eyes of the person she harasses, a person who sees a vehicle containing children used as a tool of intimidation, compounding the wrong with the exploitation of innocence. Repentance for this mother is a radical return to her post. It requires 1. An immediate and absolute ceasefire. The drives must stop. Today, the children's time is no longer weaponized. 2. A soul-cleansing honesty. She must confront the source of the lie and seek the actual truth. This may require humiliating backtracking and apologies to her own circle for spreading poison. 3. A direct apology to her children. She must, in an age-appropriate way, confess her error. Mom was wrong to do that. I was acting on bad information, and it was not how we should treat people. We are going to do better. This single act could be the most powerful moral lesson she ever teaches them. 4. The sacred reclamation of time. She must fill the hours she spent in darkness with radiant light. Go to the beach. Go to the park. Bake cookies. Read stories. Let the car be filled with music and silly games, not with a silence heavy with hostility. She must actively replace the memory she was building with one worthy of her title. To the woman who calls herself Mom, hear this. The title is not a shield for wrongdoing. It is a mantle of immense responsibility. The eyes watching you are not only the all-seeing eyes of a loving but grieving God, but also the trusting eyes of your children, who learn from you what love is, and now, what hatred looks like. You have been given the sacred duty to shape souls. Will you shape them into vessels of bitterness or temples of compassion? The one who watches is also the one who heals. He can heal the wound in you that made you so eager to believe a lie and act on it. He can restore your heart to its true purpose. Protection, not persecution. Nurture, not nightmare. Throw the lie overboard. Turn the car around. Literally and spiritually. Point it toward the water, toward the light, toward laughter. The beach is still there. The waves are still calling. Your children are waiting for their real mother to come back. And the witness in the passenger seat waits too, ready to guide you home to your true, sacred self. The road to redemption starts with a single, intentional U-turn. Take it, for their sake, for yours, and for the sanctity of the name you bear.